I know I have 2 hogs that will be coming very soon. So this video is a bit of clearing out tomatoes from the freezer, doing an inventory on how many bags I have, looking to see what else I have in my freezer to sort of clean things out, reorganize, do some inventory to make room for those hogs. So the preservation and canning of the tomatoes will be in another video following this. If you watched my holy cow video, I received 2 steers in the span of I think 2 weeks, and those steer were not originally planned to be received until much later. So I was in a little bit of a panic mode. I do know my hogs are coming, and they pretty much at any time. And so to avoid having that panic-stricken moment, I know I need to work on this freezer. I have a freezer dedicated to my hogs and a freezer dedicated to my steer. Inside my pantry, I have freezers dedicated to other things. What is pretty typical in the summertime, as I move you over with me, is produce comes in, and because we've eaten through a lot of what's in my freezer, you know, I know everybody who has gardens can probably, you know, understand the just shove it where it can fit kind of mentality. So I know I've got a lot of tomatoes in here that need to be pulled out. I have a ton of tomatoes in here, and I have a couple bags of tomatoes in another freezer. I also have a lot of other produce in here that should go in another freezer. And once I get the bag tomatoes out of that freezer, I can get the other produce in here into the proper freezer. There's a little bit other reworking to do, and so although it looks full, my pork really is much lower. So this is the ground. My pork, you know, it's really not as full. Oh goodness, it's really not as full as it appears to be. I just have a lot of stuff. This is my catch-all freezer. So we really got to do some reworking. Today anyhow, I am working from home. I am on my lunch. So I pulled out my roasting pan. I really wish I had several of those. I'm not going to purchase several of them for every couple of years that I do tomatoes. I do know this tomato season was incredibly prolific. So I have a lot I need to do. I managed to work through quite a bit between other canning recipes and the pizza sauce that I did. Due to limited time, because I don't usually work on tomatoes this time of year, I made the decision I am only going to do 2 types of tomato projects with the tomatoes I'm pulling out. I had also an abundance of peppers, and my peppers are pretty much taking up so much space in my one freezer. So I decided I'm going to do stewed tomatoes, and then I'm going to just do plain tomato sauce. I'm not doing a marinara. I'm not doing a spaghetti sauce like I originally thought I was going to. For the time that I have and what will fill my current need, which is emptying out some freezer space from those peppers, I decided those would be my 2 best options. I don't want all of my canned tomatoes to be stewed tomatoes, of course. I can make spaghetti sauce at any time. I can open up several jars and really cook it down and work on a good marinara if I plan ahead of time. So I can work with that. What I can't work with is knowing that my hog is coming within the next couple of weeks, I imagine, and I gotta get this worked through. Working through all these tomatoes is going to take some time. So, first thing first is getting some tomatoes out to fill that roaster pan. Good thing about my freezers is I generally know about where everything is, even though it looks like a chaotic mess. I have 2 things of chicken that need to go into the chicken freezer, but my tomatoes are taking up space from there. Meatballs I need to get vacuum sealed. Okay. So, half of a bag. These are jumbo size bags, by the way, so it's probably 1 gallon's worth, but I do have some tomatillos in here, which I do need to also work on, but tomatillos will be a separate day. For the lack of not having to use a ton of gallon baggies, I just used regular store bags. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. I think we're gonna start with those to see if it's too much or if I can add more. I have projects like this, limes and lemons, that need to be freeze dried. My freeze dryer is free. There's nothing going in it. So I'm definitely gonna get those in there. I don't have my gloves. I only have 1 glove for some reason. I have another bag of pizza sauce that I had already made, so I am going to thaw this. When it comes time to can my actual tomato, I will do a few jars of tomato sauce, so this will technically be out as well. We did all of these onions together, and this does need to go in a different freezer. Once I make space in there, of course. I have a bread freezer that this needs to go into, but there's no room right now. And these will be eaten, I'm sure, before the hog comes anyway. These are all garden fresh blanched green beans that should go in a different freezer. I'm not sure just yet what that's going to look like. Tomatillos. Tomato bag. Tomato bag. Vacuum sealed squash. This was patty pan squash. Again, should go in a different freezer. There's some larger cuts of pork. These boxes, for the most part, are actually empty because it's my ground pork, my breakfast sausage, and Italian sausage. I have divided between those two boxes, and then I have real large cuts of meat on top of the one box, but essentially both of those could be taken out and condensed with the new pork that's gonna come, so that whole large space right there, you know, is pretty much open and free. I have things like these bacon end pieces that I will be taking out maybe next week or a week from that, hopefully before the hog comes. These are what I use in baked beans. So a lot of those will be taken care of. This can actually come out. These are sweetbreads that I made for my daughter-in-law who was getting her postpartum freezer, and I made so many that I saved a few for myself, but the freezer in my kitchen is generally where I keep items like this, and there's definitely space in there, so I will take those out. I probably don't have too many more anyhow. This is a big bag of frozen squash that I was working out of for freeze drying. I'm actually just going to use this in one of the stewed tomatoes. Why not? You know, technically it doesn't go in stewed tomatoes, but I'm just gonna get rid of it and add it in there when the time comes, so that will take care of that. I really don't have a lot of bacon left. I have 9 packages left. Now underneath this box is that hump that, you know, you have in chest freezers. So there's nothing under there. So we definitely went through a lot of bacon. And then I have some butcher box bacon and some specialty thick cut bacon. So doing pretty good on the bacon side. Again, this whole thing be taken out and the new bacon will be put here. I had a video, and I'm not sure what video it was on, where we discussed vacuum sealers. I'm not happy with the vacuum sealer that I have because not all of them, but you can see this has lost the seal, and that won't stay in there as nicely as my sealed ones. Exposing this to a greater risk of freezer burn. And so when I do put my, either when I go to move these things out because of the pork coming in, or if I have to work around this, I will take these out at that time and reseal them to hopefully prolong the life value. But I am noticing that on a couple of those. One more bag. So all in all, my pork freezer is actually looking quite well. It's been emptier in the past, and who knows, maybe a couple weeks from now, if my hog holds off until the actual end of October, we still have 2 to 3 weeks plus processing time. this might even be even emptier, but I just need to make sure at least those tomatoes are out of here. So this is a lot to work through. I have several bags in my other freezer as well. All in all, not too bad actually. So I'm gonna get this all inside and get those other tomatoes to see how much I have to work with, what I can fit in my big stock pot and my roaster pan, and then whatever's left over I will come back and throw here in the freezer, just right on top, so that way I can just start working through it. Once I empty a roaster pan, I'll fill it back up. I will see you tomorrow when we start to process these and add more.